Welcome back, everyone. Today I am talking about books that I'd like to read before the end of the year. And I have some lengthy ones here in my list, talking about 5 books, and the first one is Stephen King's The Stand, well over 1,000 pages, even in the hardback. I am a constant reader. I love Stephen King. I'm currently reading It, which is also over 1,000 pages. The Stand has some really important history concerning the Stephen King multiverse. It gives us the story of Randall Flagg, the antagonist in the book, and that's something that I really have to get under my belt. I tried to read this years ago, and I failed. Coincidentally, I also tried to read It, the book I'm currently reading, years ago. I'm going back for both of these Stephen King tomes to finish them up, and it's really interesting what time and a change of perspective can do for you. I did not like It when I read it years ago, when I tried to read it, but I'm really loving it now, and I'm nearly halfway through it, so I'm really excited at taking a second crack at The Stand. I'm really excited about this next one. A is for Alibi by Sue Grafton, the very first piece of her Alphabet Mysteries series. I've wanted to read this series for a long time now. I've never read Sue Grafton. I actually have a hardback of hers that I've had for some time now. S is for Silence, but I didn't want to start there. I wanted the first installment. I was thrilled when I saw this in the bin at the Goodwill for 50 cents. I'm looking forward to finally reading a Sue Grafton. 3 years ago, I read the first Harry Potter book, and I really enjoyed it. I was just so surprised by how engrossing it was for me as an adult to take on that YA book, maybe the most popular YA book in history. And I've read about one Harry Potter book per year so far in the last 3 years. Wasn't as big a fan of the second one, although I did enjoy it. Earlier this year, I read the 3rd installment, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I loved the time travel theme in that one. So I have to take on Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This year, I'm reading some tomes, and this fits in with that theme. This is my year of the lengthy novels, and I've only finished one epic fantasy series in my life. That was the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this series evolves and finishing it up. I was at the grocery store the other day, and while I was checking out, looking at the impulse items, I found Potter toys. I have one of Potter, one of Ron. I haven't had a Pez dispenser since I was a little kid, and I was really excited about these. Earlier this year, I read the first book in Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archives, The Way of Kings. I loved it. It was the best epic fantasy book that I have ever read. I really liked the fact that it was suspenseful and the pacing was fast. That's something that I'm not accustomed to with epic fantasy. So the 4th book I have here for you guys is Words of Radiance, the 2nd book in this series. The Way of Kings was the first Brandon Sanderson novel I have ever read, and I'm totally a Brandon Sanderson fan. I'm looking forward to see how this series evolves. I think it's going to be something extraordinary, something spectacular, and I'm certain that it's going to be a lot of fun for me. And the last book that I have for you all today that I want to read before the end of the year is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. So this is how this goes with the Stormlight Archives. The first book is The Way of Kings. The second book that I'll be reading soon is Words of Radiance, and the third book is titled Oathbringer. Now, after I finish Words of Radiance, it seems intuitive that I should go on to Oathbringer. But when I reviewed The Way of Kings, I got a lot of comments telling me that before I go on to Oathbringer, I should read Warbreaker. Now, I don't know anything about Warbreaker, but I know that Brandon Sanderson does something very similar to what Stephen King does. In Stephen King's multiverse, various different books will influence one another. And with Brandon Sanderson, he actually has different series and standalone books that have an influence in the plots of other books. I don't want to do any investigation on Warbreaker because I don't want any spoilers, but I'm guessing what's happening here is that for me to fully appreciate and enjoy and understand Oathbringer, I'm going to have to make a pit stop to read Warbreaker. I'm all caught up in this Brandon Sanderson universe already, and I've only read one of his books, and I'll tell you this, my friends, I put in an order recently for a box set of his Mistborn trilogy, which is a really popular fantasy series, and from what I understand, that trilogy has an influence on the books I'm reading now, the Stormlight Archives. Well, there you go, friends. I'm going back to read some lengthy Stephen King novels that I gave up on in the past. I'm currently reading It, and not only will I do my spoiler-free review, I'm going to have a friend of mine on, Alan, who recently finished the book, and we're going to do a spoiler-filled discussion on it. I'm also totally psyched about A is for Alibi and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And I think that this Brandon Sanderson Cosmere universe with the Stormlight Archives and the Mistborn trilogy and Warbreaker and everything else involved is going to be my new bestest favorite. Let me know what you plan on reading next in the comments, and let me know if you have any book recommendations for me. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I'll see you next time.